Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's Cabinet meeting. This is not a public meeting, but a meeting that the public can attend. Before we commence proceedings, I'd like to outline the domestic arrangements for the meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice, and therefore, should the alarm sound, please leave the building, and we assemble the other side of the fountain in front of Casts. This meeting will be recorded and published on the Council's website. By entering the Council chamber, you are accepting that you will be recorded and your images will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If anyone intends to record today's meeting, please ensure this does not disturb the conduct of the meeting, and please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode. Thank you. I'll now commence the meeting. Item 1, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence, please? No apologies coming. Item 2, exclusions of the public and press. There are no exclusions on the agenda today. Is that agreed? Item 3, public statements and questions. We have no public questions or statements today. Item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No declarations of interest indicated. Item 5, decision records from the meeting held 6th of December 2023. These have been previously circulated and are for noting only. Agreed? Item 6, your care and support. Doncaster's local account 2024 for adult social care. I invite Councillor Sarah Smith, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care, to introduce this item.
Thanks so much, Chair. This Council's vision for adult social care is for every person in Doncaster to live in the place that they call home, with the people and things they love, in communities where they look out for one another, doing things that matter to them. Your Care and Support is Doncaster's local account for what adult social care has achieved over this past year and what we plan to focus on in 2024. This is a second year that we've produced Your Care and Support, and I'm so pleased to see continued improvements compared to 2023. For example, Doncaster people receiving adult social care are more likely to say that their services help them feel safe and also give them control in their daily lives, which is so important. But we have more to do. So these positive experiences are the norm for 100% of our people, 100% of the time. But in a period of such pressure, both on our public services and in our local communities, it's great to have such a positive direction of travel. That's not the limit of our ambition, though. And for a start this year, we need to support more Doncaster people be supported at home rather than needing to move into a care home. We can also help more people with disabilities into sustainable paid employment. We won't achieve anything if we aren't listening to the people who we are here to serve. I'm delighted that this report in front of us today was co-produced, made with people who have experience on drawing on social care, who regularly meet with me, myself, I've made myself sound like two people there, myself and council officers as part of our fantastic Making It Real board. I'm so thankful for all their time and passion, who help us on this journey to make adult social care in Doncaster the best it can be within some of the challenging contexts which we're all working in. I'm so incredibly grateful to Zach Martin and Aisha John, who are also here today to support this. In a minute, I'll ask them to give their views about Your Care and Support report and what they want to see happen next. Your Care and Support will be made available in different formats, so it's accessible to all Doncaster's communities. Accessibility is so important, and it's one of my personal passions. And I'm really pleased that we have set out clear objectives about equality, diversity, and inclusion in adult social care this year. I'm also pleased that we have agreed some priorities that will support our skilled and committed workforce who work incredibly hard to provide adult social care across Doncaster every day of the year. It's been a real privilege getting to work on this with our Doncaster residents, with the Making It Real board, with our fantastic adult social care workforce, and I'm so grateful and thankful for all your time and commitment on this and beyond. I'm really looking forward to us all working towards our next priorities as set out in this local account, and I would like to welcome Zach and Aisha, who'll be speaking next. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to ask which one would like to speak first. If you would, is it Aisha?
Hi
Thank you,
everyone, my
Aisha.
name's Aisha. Well, some people know me as Isa Shaw. So first of all, what I'd like to say is a massive thank you for having us here in this space today. I think it's really important to bring people with the lived experience and also to be able to balance out the feeling of equality, not just in our communities, but alongside people in high positions. So thank you for that. I just want to say I'm a human being, so if I do mess up, please just know that I'm just simply being myself. So first of all, what I've done is I've broke down the local account into four pieces what I wanted to work on in the account. The first part that I'd want to speak about is the lived experience. So for me, working alongside the Making It Real board has been really important, and it's rebuilt trust in services. It's helped to understand more and opened up opportunities as well as I've been able to go out into the community and help others to understand that the council are there to help. This is not just about me, but I've heard many positive stories from the people in the meetings. I've loved asking others questions as well as feeding back in things such as the peer review and the lived experience. I feel the people should be celebrated, not just in reports or in the stats, but the people themselves who come into the meetings. Maybe put a little bit of background information about these people so that it can help people in communities come forward and see that they do have valuable information to share with our council. So here, feel honoured to be a part of the change. Suggestion on that part. I think I've already done it. I don't know, I've lost it on there. I'll go on to the next part anyway. So the next part is the people's rights, helping them get the care the individual wants and other suggestions. This was really interesting because with the Making It Real board, learning us about human rights, it became a powerful toolkit for many people to be able to have their person-centred care actually about them. Because I find that sometimes in different situations, it can be diluted a little down to people's perspectives. And I think it's really important as well that people also understand people's spiritual and religious beliefs when coming from a perspective of care. I find it would be important to have word-sensitive assessments. I've found at times that some people also go back into your past instead of find where you are in the present moment. And this can be a great trigger for some people because then they feel less able. So also suggestions, people's beliefs and reducing fears with information and communication in that space. So I'm going on to the next part now. So the next one that I was looking at was people working with adult social care. I think the people who are the adult social care workers also do need a bit more support. I find it very important for these people because they're not just a job role, they're human beings as well. And personally, a number of times I have met different people in these job roles who have disclosed things to me. I think it's just because of my nature that people disclose things to me. And yeah, I think it's important because also well-being and therapy are very different. They touch us in a very, very different way. I feel that in this space, we should have allocated certain people with certain backgrounds because I find it important that people understand people in different dynamics and different beliefs. I've had people, and I know of other people who've misunderstood their cultural understanding, and it's caused conflict, and then people have withdrawn from services. So I find this really, really important. Their rights to, in situations, to reject a case and ask for a new worker. If our social workers become overwhelmed, it should be open to them to discuss without fears. And I do find in these services a lot of people are scared to be themselves because they have so much pressure to serve other people, and we're all just humans living, doing the best that we can. And number 4, fair and equal offer for the people using the services. I believe personally that it'd be very helpful if we'd have some sort of system where would have calls recorded for training and quality purposes, because then we can have these calls looked at in certain ways but spoke at in different manners, because sometimes what's written on a report is very different from what takes place in a conversation, and I think this is important to look at this. And also to offer such a follow-up and outreach for people who can't meet these these meetings, and people who are out there who really struggle to interact with services. I know that there's different stuff that gets done with different community work, but just having some of the people who are really in positions of power and supporting our people to go more into more closed and more intimate connections, but with certain guidance. But that's all I've got to say today, and I just want to say a massive thank you for all the work that you're doing and having me here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that input, and it's nice to hear that it's rebuilt your trust in the services, which is so, so important, and also sharing your insight and the input into what you have personally experienced and what you've heard from others. So thank you for that. I'll go on. Zach, would you like to say a few words? Thank you, Zach.
Hi, so yeah, my name's Zach Martin. I'm the Joint Chair of the Autism Partnership Board. I sit on the Making It Real board, and I'm an autistic elder and a person with lived experience, which I think some here might know is comprehensive, weird, shocking, painful, strange, esoteric, and I've spoken about it in before. There's a video you can watch and everything. This year's been more about water than fire, but also a lot about this document. The Making It Real board's been working with the authority on this account, and I think it's safe to say we're quite proud of how it's come out. The contents speak to what can be achieved when the local authority talks to, listens to, and most importantly works with the people with the greatest experience of its systems. It's also testament to the depth of knowledge and skills of the people with lived experience that can bring to bear. It's indicative of a growing positive presence at a strategic level of people with lived experience and the willingness of strategic decision makers to take on board that knowledge. This level of cooperation should be present at all levels and ideally in all departments. Adult social care is on point with its healthy and growing interactions, and the local account confirms the benefits of that relationship. I'd like to urge you all to help build upon that across all departments with an aim to see, both internal contractors, outsourced services, the lot of it working to the same sort of standards. However, if the local authority wants to call upon the extended knowledge and skills of people with lived experience, it needs to ensure they're compensated for their time and effort. Currently, the budget for the co-production payments policy, which is referenced in the local account, only extends to the Making It Real board and working groups spinning off from that. And I assure there's a lot more co-production goes on than just that area. I know discussions are due to begin about extending that policy to all co-production work, and I firmly believe that this would encourage greater take-up of such roles, leading to more broader experience being brought on board, and then more decisions being made about us, with us, decreasing conflict, reducing unnecessary and expensive conflicts, making more effective use of existing budgets, and not to mention increasing trust with the system. Further to that end, I'd also like to encourage the authority to do more to create actual job roles and positions within itself, hiring based first and foremost on that lived experience. Job skills and qualifications, you can train those, you can teach those, but there isn't a substitute for the lived experience you can bring to bear on these situations, much like this chamber works actually. Such matters came up a lot at just last year's Festival of Practice, which was a staff event which referred to again in the local account, which I was honoured to attend. It was, to my mind, a very successful example of staff at all levels listening to us and each other, and tapping into that wealth of experience within the council itself. However, I was approached by multiple local authority staff over the course of the day with comprehensive and complex inquiries about what support is available and problems they faced seeking that support, which is fine. I'm happy to do that, whatever. I'm always open for advice and things. But it speaks to me that if the authority staff from the system are having to ask a passing warehouseman how to navigate that system, that those systems have a way to go in terms of transparency and accessibility and just explaining what they can do and how they can do it. Mostly, I just hope that this document will be a big leap forward in terms of opening things up. There's still obviously a lot to do in terms of making sure everyone can access what they have a right to access clearly and effectively, and that what adult social care is doing and what it stands for is actually out there for everyone to see and people understand it. And I'm hoping that this document will probably most importantly, will give people confidence that the authority not only listens to, but takes on board that our voices are heard and that we're making a palpable difference, and that our experiences, be they sad, happy, esoteric, risky, insane, or whatever, counts for something. And so far, I feel like that's working. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Zach. And I've noticed that the director is nodding at things that you're saying. So I'm sure they're taking note of all that you've actually raised this morning. Thank you. Colleagues, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in respect of the report in front of us? Sarah?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. You know, I think that is testament to how Making It Real board works, you know, giving us real challenges and real perspective on these. And I've written down endless stuff from what you said, so really looking forward to following some of those up and enacting them further. So thank you for your time today. It's really always appreciated.
And I'm sure everyone echoes just what Sarah said, because Making It Real does actually give us greater insight, although many of us have also undertaken the parts that you are doing also. So with that, no one else has indicated that they wish to speak. So I will read out the recommendations of the report, please. And that is to approve your care and support Doncaster's 2024 local account for adult social care. Colleagues, is that moved? Seconded? It is therefore approved. And again, a big thank you for sharing your thoughts and experiences. We move on to item 7, which is school admissions arrangements for 25-26 academic year. I'll invite Councillor Lainey May Ball, Cabinet Member for Early Help, Education, Skills and Young People, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so this report, it outlines the Council's duty to determine the arrangements for the admission of children to schools and nurseries across Doncaster every year. So the Council has a really important role to ensure that parents are given every opportunity to apply for a place at their preferred school, and this is best achieved by the Council coordinating and monitoring that process. So the coordinated arrangements, they apply to all types of schools across Doncaster, and that includes academies and free schools as well. So back in September 2013, the government withdrew the requirement to coordinate in-year applications. So this raised concerns within the authority regarding the safeguarding of children. So since March 2012, each year, Cabinet has reaffirmed its commitment to coordinate in-year admissions, and we are, in quite a privileged position with all schools taking part in this. Coordinating year of entry admissions, that is a statutory function of the Council, and it achieves this through an online application and a paper-based system, with nearly 100% of applications received online. Outcomes for the applicants in Doncaster are really positive. So for secondary admissions in 2023, 87% of children were offered their first preference, and this was even higher in primary schools, achieving 96%. And these figures improve further when we look at children receiving a place at one of their preferred schools, to over 96% in secondary and 98% in primary. Separate to the Council coordinating the overall process, each admission authority in the city must set its own admission arrangements, which include the order in which places are offered when a school is full. So the Council is responsible for setting these for 18% of the schools, which is 21 out of 118 schools in Doncaster. The remainder of these arrangements are the responsibility of church schools and academies. So our arrangements reflect the requirements to give first priority to children in care, and then they are followed by the catchment area children, and also recognising the importance of keeping families together with then prioritised children with siblings attending the same school. These arrangements are reviewed annually and updated as necessary to take in account relevant legislation, guidance and any local changes. It is crucial to offer the support for parents throughout the admission process to minimise any disruption to a child's time in education. The support we provide through the admission service has previously been reviewed and a number of actions were taken to ensure smooth transition into and between schools. And this includes having a dedicated support staff for each phase of education, minimising the amount of complaints and escalation, and then allowing the processing of applications in a timely manner. I would therefore ask Cabinet to approve the content of this report and its recommendations. Thank you.
Colleagues, does anyone have any questions or statements in respect of this report? Councillor
I think it's testament to the good work of the council and the efficacy that it provides is allowing the first preferences both at primary at 96% and secondary at 87% first preferences. I think it's a marvellous piece of work. I think it puts both parents and young people's mind at rest as to their first preference schools, and I welcome this work, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else has indicated, therefore I will read out the recommendations of the report. The Mayor and members of Cabinet approve the following admissions arrangements for the 25-26 school year. Community school admissions arrangements as set out at paragraphs 13 to 14 of the report. Community school nursery admission arrangements as set out at paragraph 13 to 14 of the report. Primary coordinated admission arrangements as set out at paragraphs 15 to 18 of the report. Secondary coordinated admissions arrangement as set out at paragraphs 15 to 18 of the report. Colleagues, is that moved? Seconded? The recommendations are agreed. Thank you. Item 8 is calculation and approval of the council tax base for 24-25. I'll invite Councillor Phil Cole, Cabinet Member for Finance, Traded Services and Planning, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor. This report seeks approval of the council tax base for Doncaster for the financial year 2024-25. The report reflects an estimated loss on collection of council tax of just 1.4%, which is the same as 2023-24. The Local Authorities Calculation of Council Tax Base Regulations 2012 sets out the determination of the council tax base, and the regulations prescribe how this calculation should be carried out. The council tax base is used to determine the level of council tax for individual properties. It represents the number of properties that will be subject to council tax and which are expressed in terms of their Band D equivalents using a prescribed formula after allowing for the effects of exemptions, discounts, premiums and reliefs. The proposed council tax base for Doncaster for 2024-25 therefore translates Doncaster's 143,000 properties, over 143,000 properties, into 86,730 Band D equivalent dwellings. The above figures represent an increase of 751 Band D equivalent dwellings compared to the 2023-24 tax base, which was 85,979. The report also sets out the council tax base for each part of the borough to enable each parish council to calculate their precept. The figure is also used by precepting authorities such as South Yorkshire Police, South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue. I ask Cabinet to support the recommendations within this report. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, any questions or statements in respect of the report in front of you? No? I will therefore read out the recommendations within the report, and that is that Cabinet approve the City of Doncaster council tax base for the 24-25 year as 86,730 Band D equivalent dwellings as detailed at Appendix 1 of the report, and approve the City of Doncaster Council's tax base for the 24-25 year for each part of its area at parish level, as detailed in Appendix 2 of the report. Is that moved, colleagues? Is it seconded? Therefore, the recommendation is agreed. We now move to item 9, which is furnished tenancy scheme. I invite the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Glyn Jones, to introduce this item. Glyn.
Thank you, Chair. Large numbers of Doncaster residents and many of our council house tenants continue to face the cost of living crisis. Largely, the factors that impact on this are beyond the control of this council. However, where we can assist, we are committed to doing so. Doncaster has some of the lowest council house rents in the country, but one issue that faces some of our tenants and prospective tenants is that in addition to paying the rent and their other bills, they struggle to adequately furnish their home. This isn't just a Doncaster issue, but a national one. Nevertheless, it's an issue that we can expect to act upon locally and help some of our tenants ensure they have the basics of a reasonably furnished home, including both furniture and white goods. This report proposes that for our tenants in most need, predominantly those who have been placed in the platinum band because of such reasons as homelessness or fleeing domestic violence, we will give them the option of leasing the furniture they require. We think that the scheme will be of interest to a much larger group of tenants, but it is planned to begin the scheme in a small and manageable way. If it proves successful, we will then have the potential to open the offer to other tenants. We see this as a significant anti-poverty measure. This is because the cost of leasing furniture can be met from the housing element of people's benefits, and as a result it helps tenants avoid the need to purchase furniture outright or pay expensive credit charges. For this reason, we expect it to be mainly of interest to those who are in receipt of benefits, but it will be offered to all in the platinum band regardless of benefit eligibility, subject to a thorough affordability check. One of the issues we have had to consider carefully is that the cost of leasing furniture should not act as an impediment to tenants moving off of benefits. To address this, we will ensure that tenants have the option of continuing with the scheme if they can afford it, or coming off the scheme in part or full, and we will discuss an exit plan with tenants when they sign up for this scheme. Careful consideration has been given to how to develop this scheme in an affordable and sustainable way as a council. This has led to the proposal to offer this scheme in conjunction with Newcastle City Council, who run a well-established and successful furniture scheme for themselves and for a number of other local authorities. St Ledger Homes will be responsible for assessing applications, ensuring tenants can afford to be involved, and for collecting the service charge. Newcastle will be responsible for the provision and maintenance of furniture. Newcastle may seem some distance away, but they will ensure a weekly delivery to Doncaster. Consideration was given to other alternatives, including delivering the scheme entirely ourselves or joining with other partners. But for a range of reasons, these options have been discounted as not currently practicable. The full details of the scheme, including the service charges, are contained within the report. I think this scheme has a lot of potential to help our tenants. It will be monitored with a full review after 1 year, and I ask that Cabinet support the report and its recommendations. Thank you.
Colleagues, any questions or statements? Nigel.
Thank you, Chair. It's just really a statement. I mean, I fully support this scheme. I think it's It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, when you're looking at a lot of tenants that are effectively taking up a new property, a lot of them, like Councillor Jones has made us aware, are in need. They're at that point where they need to get some furniture in there to turn their tenancy into a bit of a home. And the last thing we want to do as a council is to sort of like see them approaching loan sharks or, in some cases, unscrupulous commercial opportunities with some furniture stores on the high street that charge really high prices. So I do welcome this, and it opens up that little bit of choice for tenants, and it allows them the security of moving that forward as well. And it gives them that chance really over a sustained period of time to get on the feet. So thank you very much, and I do welcome this.
I can't see anyone else indicating they wish to speak, so I will read out the recommendations. And they are: Cabinet are asked to approve the proposal to introduce a furnished tenancy scheme, approve the service charges as set out in paragraph 11 of the report, to evaluate the scheme after 12 months to establish take-up, financial viability, opportunities for expansion to a wider group of tenants and the delivery model providers, and, following the evaluation set out in the recommendation, any further decision to widen the proposed furnished tenancy scheme be delegated to the Assistant Director of Strategic Housing and Sustainability in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Housing and Business. Is that moved, colleagues? Seconded? And therefore it is agreed. We now move on to item 10, which is biodiversity net gain and Red House Farm Habitat Bank boundary, revision of the 19th of July 2023 Cabinet decision. I will invite Councillor Phil Cole, Cabinet Member for Finance, Traded Services and Planning, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor. On 19th July 2023, Cabinet approved the establishment of a biodiversity net gain habitat bank on an area of council-owned land adjacent to Sandalbeat Wood, known as Red House Farm. A habitat bank is an area of land where measurable improvements to wildlife are made in order to compensate for losses of habitat that arise from a development. Development proposals directly fund the creation and ongoing management of the Habitat Bank project in order to ensure that net gains in biodiversity are achieved. This morning, I presented an amendment to the boundary of the Red House Farm Habitat Bank for the reasons set out in the report, and as follows. First, the Council has submitted a planning application to remediate the Waterfront East mixed-use site as a precursor to plans for its future redevelopment. This site is one of the largest brownfield regeneration opportunities of its size in the country, and the application builds on previous work and investment to date. The proposal at Waterfront East is one of several key transformational projects for the Council, as stated in some of our most important strategies and plans, including the current Doncaster Delivering Together investment plan, the Doncaster Urban Centre Master Plan, and our local plan. Waterfront also forms one of the main parts of the City Centre Corridor Opportunity Site, which members will recall was approved at our last Cabinet meeting in December for designating as part of the South Yorkshire Investment Zone, and a target, therefore, for numerous interventions, including increased investment and economic opportunities. The Waterfront East remediation planning application needs to be compliant with the adopted local plan. Amongst other things, it therefore needs to demonstrate how it will deliver a 10% net gain in biodiversity. To achieve this policy compliant, the scheme must secure nearly 25 biodiversity units off-site. This presents a challenge to us, as net gain contributions from developers are normally secured via a planning Section 106 legal agreement, but the Council quirkily, is not able to enter into such an agreement with itself as a matter of law. Therefore, instead of paying the offsetting contribution fee, a scheme needs to be identified where off-site units will be delivered. The Habitat Bank at Red House Farm is adjacent to the main Doncaster main urban area and is less than 3 kilometres from the waterfront application site. It is intended that a range of habitats, including woodland, scrub, trees and neutral grassland, will be delivered at the Habitat Bank. As the waterfront development needs to deliver grassland, scrub and tree units off-site, it has been identified that the Red House Farm site would be an appropriate location to deliver the necessary off-site biodiversity units. None of this preempts the outcome of the waterfront planning application decision, but should the scheme be approved, an amendment will be required to the previously approved Habitat Bank boundary to exclude a number of areas which collectively will deliver those waterfront 25 biodiversity units directly and secured via a planning condition attached to the development. These areas would no longer be available to sell biodiversity units on the open market from the Habitat Bank as a result. However, I should stress that this decision relates to changing the financial mechanism of how the habitat creation and ongoing management costs for these areas will be paid for, but will see no discernible difference at the Red House Farm site in terms of what is being delivered on the ground. It will not diminish the environmental gain achieved on this site, only the mechanism for achieving it. I therefore recommend that Cabinet supports the recommendations within this report before you. Thank you, Mayor.
Colleagues, any questions or statements in respect of the report that you've got in front of you? No, I can see no indication. However, we've got to support such a scheme. We know that we've got to get to net zero as soon as possible. These habitats are vital for the future of our town, our city and our country. So I very much support moving from one to the other. I will now read out the recommendation within the report, and that is that Cabinet approves, subject to planning permission being granted for application 23/02196/3 FULM, that the boundary of Red House Farm Habitat Bank, previously agreed by Cabinet on the 19th of July 2023, be amended to exclude areas of land as identified at figure 2 of paragraph 9 of the report that will be used to deliver off-site compensation required for planning application 23/02196/3 FULM. Colleagues, is that moved? Seconded? Therefore, it is agreed. That now concludes items of business on the agenda today. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance and input, and I will now close the meeting. Thank you.